Welcome. I'm Patty Reed. I came out west from Illinois with my family, the Reeds, before the gold rush. My family was dreaming of different riches. There was Papa, always looming large in my memory. Oh, maybe Papa wasn't such a tall man, but he thought big, he acted big, and he dreamed big. And he was dreaming of getting orchard land in Golden, California, and maybe being an Indian agent. After all, he fought alongside with Abe Lincoln during the Black Hawk campaign. And our family was a big, restless, noisy bunch of would-be pioneers just aching for adventure. There was Mama, refined, almost fragile, with her fine clothes and all of us children catering to her during her headache spells. And some said, just plain spoiled. Now, our Mama's will turned out to be as ironclad as the hub of our wagon wheels. She kept us going and alive throughout our historic journey to California. There was my elder sister, Virginia. She turned 13 on the trip. And oh, I wanted to do everything she did. She had her pony Billy, and she said, I'll ride like the wind alongside of Papa and all the men on a buffalo hunt. And she did. There was our granny. Our granny had been a pioneer herself out to Ohio from back east when Ohio was the Wild West. And she wouldn't miss a party and an adventure. And then there was our little brothers, Tommy, who was the littlest, 3, and Jimmy, about 6 at that time. Now, Granny wasn't well. She had a hacking cough, and we were concerned. But we had this pioneer palace wagon. Nothing was too good for my dad's family, Papa's family. And oh, we had a cook stove and their beds near the top and a fine parlor for Granny. And oh, there was a gold framed mirror. Yes. Now, we went along and picked up the Donners, and it was called the Reed Donner Expedition at that time. And we were going out to Missouri to join up with other wagon trains. And we went along and we had a fine time with the weather, and the skies were blue, clear, and the trails were dotted on either side with colorful wildflowers. And Granny's spirits soared like the flock of birds overhead migrating up from the south. And then we joined up with the Captain Russell, Missouri, and lots of other wagon trains. And we went out, and the weather turned wild and rough, and the singing of our wagon wheels became groaning and croaking, and Granny's cough grew much worse until one day we didn't hear her cough at all. Granny had died, and we buried her under willows near a spring. And I took a lock of her hair. Here are my mementos of our journey west. Here's Dolly, who came along with me all the way from Illinois in my dress. And here's that lock of Granny's hair. I kept it near my heart. And then here's salt cellar with a little salt from back in our kitchen in Illinois, and more salt from the Great Salt Lake Desert, and then a few grains of salt from the beach near the Pacific Ocean, our new home. Now, one of Papa's big ideas was brewing. He had read a book from Captain Hastings, Lansford Hastings, an adventurer, a scoundrel, some said, a misunderstood visionary, others said, you will decide for yourselves. And there was just one line on this from this book called The Emigrant's Guide to California and Oregon that talked about a new shortcut named after himself, of course, the Hastings shortcut that would go down south through the Great Salt Lake Desert straight to California. Well, Tamsin Donner, Mrs. Donner, didn't like this, and neither did Mama. And much to Virginia's my dismay, Papa and Mama were arguing every night. James, I will not take my family on an unknown trail, risk their safety. Look at the mountains. There's snow on those distant mountains, and that book is not the Bible. Margaret, where's your faith? James, I have faith in you, not in that book. Margaret, if there's a route nigher, I'm going to take it. We're going to take it. Well, Papa's big idea won out. And there was Hastings. He came and saw Papa just part of the way and looking out over the mountains. And he waved his hands about going down this mountain range to the Great Salt Lake Desert and out there. And then he left to go fight the Mexicans for their land, the Mexican-American War in 1847. Papa and John Snyder, who was the driver for a new family who joined us, the Graves, hacked their way and our way through the Wasatch impenetrable wooded mountain range, making trails big enough for all the wagons. Well, we were exhausted, and many things had been lost on the way when we got to the Great Salt Lake Desert. We were unprepared. It was nearly double what Hastings had said. It was 80 miles. It didn't take us 2.5 days to go through. It took us 1 week. And the nights were freezing cold. And in the daytime, it was blistering hot, and the sun reflected off that salty crust of earth. It was blinding, and there were dust storms. And our oxen and precious cattle stampeded. They scented water. Papa went after them. We didn't know we'd see Papa again. When he came back, he had found just 2 oxen, but the oxen had found water, and so had Papa. Thank goodness. Well, we lost time there. It took us a week to get through, and we had to cache or leave our 3 little wagons, and Tamsin Donner left her, buried her gold. People are still looking for it today. We emerged one of the poorer families where we had been one of the richest families. And on credit, Papa got us some more oxen. And then the next unfortunate, unspeakable incident occurred. John Snyder, who was usually cheery and affable, was driving Graves' oxen, and Milt was driving ours, and somehow they became entangled, and John got agitated and picked up his whip, and Milt said, "We've got to untangle them, John, listen to reason, and then we'll yoke them together again with this yoke, and they're team animals. Now ha, now gee, now gaw." And this yoke is our salvation. John Snyder took the whip and brought it down on Milt. Papa ran in and got hit, and his head was bleeding, and then Mama ran in. John had been yelling, "This whip is our salvation." And then Papa took out his knife, and then I saw him holding John Snyder's limp body. Well, John was buried, and Papa buried him, and then the party, the wagon train party, voted to banish Papa. He barely escaped lynching. People were saying, "An eye for an eye. He goes out to the desert without a horse, without a rifle, without provisions. That's sure death." But then Mama got Milt and Virginia and Papa's horse. loaded up with provisions and a rifle and sent them out to meet Papa. And they did. And Papa promised he would leave cloth tied on branches to mark his way. He was going to Sutter's Fort to bring us back help, and he was going to claim land. He did not know how much we would need that help. Then we went on, and most of us were walking at this time. We had to abandon the wagon when we got near the mountain. And many people had abandoned their oxen who were starving, and the mules and the horses, who were mostly now pulling, got abandoned too. There was not much to eat. And that night, when we were going to go up the mountain, what is now Nevada, it snowed. Mama's prediction was right and came true. And it snowed and it snowed and it snowed. And we camped at the base with just pulling branches over ourselves. Somehow we made it through that night. And we went into immigrant cabins that had been left the year before. And there we stayed. And it was a hard time. Milt went between our camp and the Donners, some 6 miles away, until one day Milt perished in the deep snow. It snowed on and off for 6 months. 6 months. And many people were ill. Many people died. And we were boiling up hides. And then Mama and Virginia and Milt went with some other pioneers to go over the mountain. And then the next day, Mama, Milt, and Virginia came back, and they pushed open the door, and Virginia was landed on her bottom with a thud. My foot froze, and we had to come back. And I made them some soup out of the hides. And then Mama warmed Virginia's foot. Now, 7 straggling, starving pioneers, the forlorn hope, made it over the mountain to the Johnson Ranch. Now, Papa had tried to get out for a rescue party after he had fought in the Mexican-American War, and he had gained some land. But he and his party had been pushed back in the snow, but he made it out, and he came after Mama and Virginia and I had gone out with Tommy and Jimmy, but Tommy and I couldn't make it. We fell back, and the rescuer said that he had to take us back because we wouldn't make it over the mountain. I said goodbye to Mama. I told her, you do the best you can, and so will we. Some nice folks looked after us back at camp. And Mama, Virginia, they did see Papa, and he came out again, and he brought provisions, and Tommy didn't recognize him. We had become so weak, and it had been so long since we had seen him, 6 whole months or more. It's our Papa, Tommy, it's our Papa. No, it's not our Papa. It's someone else's Papa. Well, we walked with them. Tommy and I said, we can walk by ourselves. And then I fell in the snow, and Papa was frantic looking for me, and he found me. They put the rifle butts in every foot of snow, and I was having a dream. I heard the heavenly music of the spheres, and I saw Granny. And when Papa woke me up, I said, oh, I was sad and I was happy to be awake. I had the best, most wonderful dream I ever had. And Papa had taken his frozen mitten off, and there were breadcrumbs, and he pressed it into my mouth. And I got up, and Papa carried me, and his companion carried Tommy the 40 miles over the mountain to Johnson Ranch in California. And then at Sutter's Fort, we were reunited with great joy with Virginia and Jimmy. our family had made it through. Now, for advice that I give to other pioneers, it's what Virginia said. Never take no shortcuts and hurry along as fast as you can. Thank you.